Hello everyone, I'm Slava, and today we have a pretty rare specimen for review, the G01 X3 with a 3-liter diesel engine. We're going to tell you all about it. We'll talk a bit about the engines that were available for this model. For the most part, I'll be comparing this car with my previous F25. Let's see if they made it better and more interesting or not. As we like to say, this car comes with quite a loaded configuration, but since it's a European model, we've recently noticed a trend on the channel with European cars having some odd configurations. Here, as we can see, the car is equipped with the M package LED headlights and a 3-liter diesel engine, specifically the B57 engine. Let's start with the exterior. We have a dark gray color, subtle, yet it looks quite good. The M package and LED headlights certainly enhance the look. The wheels are quite nice too, that's immediately noticeable. The car is also equipped with M brakes, a 360-degree camera system and parking sensors all around. As I mentioned, the configuration is solid, but for some reason Europeans tend to skip keyless entry. This is a relatively new, well-equipped and not exactly cheap car, yet it doesn't have keyless entry. One of you mentioned in the comments that in Europe, insurance rates are higher for cars with keyless entry because they're supposedly easier to steal. That could be why Europeans avoid this feature and don't pay extra for it. Judging by our reviews of similar European cars, we've often encountered this omission. Perhaps for that reason. It's also interesting to note that with each new generation, cars keep getting bigger and bigger. The X3 in this G01 body style is actually larger than the E53 X5. Now let's talk a bit about the engines. This model came with a wide range of engines, and some of them are particularly interesting. As I mentioned earlier, this one has a 3-liter diesel engine, the B57. It delivers 265 horsepower. The manufacturer claims a 0 to 100 km/h time of around 5.8 seconds, which is very quick for an SUV that doesn't really aim to be sporty. Now let's talk about engines. There are more interesting options available, so to speak. After a stage 1 tune, if you want to increase the power, it can go under 5 seconds, which in my opinion is pretty solid. You end up with a dynamic vehicle. By the way, this one has been tuned. There were also 2-liter diesel engines installed here. I think this might be the most common option you'll encounter. Actually, no. In our country, the most common engine is likely the B46 or B48, the 2-liter gasoline engines typically found in models imported from the US. These cars sometimes came with rear-wheel drive, and there are quite a few for sale. The price for these rear-wheel drive 2-liter models from America is almost half that of this 3-liter diesel version with a loaded configuration. Another interesting engine available for this model is the legendary B58. You can check out our review of it on the channel. It's great for tuning, mod-friendly, and generally reliable. In fact, when it comes to the engines in this chassis, none of them suffer from significant issues. Almost all of them are reliable and free from major weaknesses. This generation also came with an M version, the X3M, featuring the S58 engine. Let's just say that's the pinnacle of perfection. It delivers some insane performance numbers for an SUV and even rivals its bigger siblings. With a stage 2 tune, it can hit 0 to 100 km/h in around 3 seconds and 100 to 200 km/h in about 7 seconds. For a vehicle of this type, those times are mind-blowing. As for common issues, there's really not much to mention. Everything is reliable and runs without problems. Maybe some issues will show up at higher mileage, around 200,000 kilometers or more, but for now, there aren't many with such mileage. If you maintain it properly and drive responsibly, you won't have frequent visits to the service center, despite what people often say about BMWs. The suspension doesn't have any major weak points either. Everything is standard wear and tear, and there's nothing particularly problematic to point out. Stepping into the cabin, we're greeted by a nicely colored tan interior with sport seats. There's an M steering wheel. As I've mentioned in other reviews, it doesn't really differ much from the 5 or 3 series. The steering wheel is comfortable, has a nice grip, and looks cool. As we can see, it also has a heated steering wheel and heated seats. For audio, there's a Harman system installed. It features the large NBT Evo display. What's missing here, again, a quirk of the European configuration, is the head-up display. It's absent. Another thing that immediately stands out is the black headliner and the panoramic sunroof. Cool. A panoramic sunroof, a black headliner, and gray trim inserts. Overall, the interior, the combination of everything, and the way the cabin looks, I really like it. What I can say right away about the seating position. In my X3 F25, I didn't like the seating position because it was quite stool-like. I prefer sitting low, as I'm more into passenger cars. Interestingly, in the X5 F15, you could sit comfortably low if you wanted to. But in the X3 F25, that wasn't an option. I'd love to say that in this G01 you can sit lower, but no. The seating position feels very similar to the F25. They didn't change much in this regard. I know a lot of people like this type of seating, high up, seeing everything around, which they find great. But I'm used to lying low, almost on the floor, so this doesn't quite suit me. It'll be interesting to see how it feels on the road, because the main reason I sold my F25 is that I would describe it as an ideal car for a wife, so to speak. It doesn't bring any real excitement. It's simple, practical, convenient, and reliable. You can load it up with stuff, drive it over various potholes comfortably, and it gets the job done. But in terms of driving experience, it offers no real emotions. The seating position just feels off. Honestly, in the F25, it feels like you're not driving a BMW, but a car from another brand. Maybe a Kia, a Toyota, or something like that. Interior execution. In comparison to the previous generation, I really like the interior execution here. There's stitching everywhere, on the door panels, the wheel, and other elements. The aluminum trim and the general look of the inserts give off a premium vibe. The craftsmanship is on point. Even though many say manufacturers are cutting corners and making interiors feel cheaper, I wouldn't say that's the case here. The materials feel pleasant to the touch. The cabin design is harmonious and looks modern. The armrest matches the rich tan color of the seats. There's also glossy black trim paired with brushed aluminum inserts. Everything looks cohesive. I genuinely like the interior of this model much more compared to the F25. It's visually more appealing, with better materials and a fresher, more modern design. Considering this is a new generation, that's no surprise. Rear seat test. Let's now sit in the back, because in an X3, a compact crossover, this matters. Since I'm tall, I'll try sitting behind my own driving position and share my thoughts. We don't usually show this in our reviews, but it's relevant here. Let's see how the rear space feels. Well, here it's also quite, let's say it's a bit of a stool-like seating. I wouldn't say it's very comfortable for me sitting behind myself. Well, there are indentations for the legs. I wouldn't say it's very comfortable for me sitting behind myself. Well, you can sit like that, but I wouldn't say it's comfortable. The problem is, by the way, that you can't even lower the seat much. I'm used to having long legs, and when I sit in the back somewhere, it's not very comfortable for me. I slide down a little and spread my legs. But here the handle gets in the way, and there's nowhere to put my leg. Honestly, it's not very comfortable. It's even hard to sit behind myself, which is strange. Well, if you have an average height, like around 170 to 180 meters, it should be fine for you. For me, though, it's not very comfortable sitting in the back. When you sit back there, you have the panoramic roof, and when it's open, it adds a bit of space. You feel nice back there, but the space seems to be there, even though it really isn't. Honestly, it's not comfortable at all. Let's move to the front, get behind the wheel, and I'll share my driving impressions with you. So So let me share a bit about the driving impressions. The first feeling as I drove off, the car is quite stiff overall. I expected it to be softer. The F25 was honestly much softer. I think part of the reason is the larger wheels, significantly larger. If I'm not mistaken, I had 18-inch wheels, and here we have 20-inch wheels. Also, this one has an M suspension and M package, so that's probably why it's much stiffer. Stiffer and more firm suspension. Let's try pressing a bit and see how the engine performs. It drives very briskly. The 3-liter diesel engine really makes its presence felt, especially in such a compact body. The steering is sharp and the brakes are quite responsive. You wouldn't expect this from the X3. With such a trim package, suspension and brakes, it really stands out. It would be interesting if it were on the B58 engine. That would probably make for a very exciting car. If the budget is between the F15 and the G01, based on my initial impressions, I'd say the F15, even though it's the previous generation, feels more balanced in terms of seating and overall experience. However, as I mentioned, what I didn't like about the F25 is still present here. The high, somewhat uncomfortable seating position. But when it comes to handling and performance, it's definitely fun. Probably considering that all enthusiasts like to take their cars over curbs, that's why they choose crossovers, to drive through places like that without worrying about getting stuck. To off-road, so to speak, or even drive on our bad roads. It is possible. You can even get some sensations and drive actively. And at the same time, you have a high practical car with a large trunk, a spacious interior, and you can fit kids in. Meanwhile, you're getting a consumption of 7.5 liters. I mentioned that the car is tuned, and I've looked at the measurements. Unfortunately, we didn't bring the drag strip today. Next time, for sure, we'll bring it for the next video to measure it properly, and it should be around 5 seconds. To 100. Noise? Basically, there are no issues with sound insulation. In many series, there's engine sound coming from the speakers. It's possible that it's the same here because the sound is quite pleasant during acceleration. The acceleration dynamics, of course, are more than enough. Even for me, being a bit spoiled, it's definitely more than enough. The engine behavior is very similar to the 486 cylinder, which has 2 turbos, by the way, and around 300 horsepower from the factory. Here, I think with the chip, it's about the same. The behavior is very similar in terms of the engine, transmission, and powertrain in general. I wouldn't be able to achieve such fuel efficiency with the 6-cylinder. It's possible that this average consumption is from highway driving. The average speed was 50 km/h, so it's likely that the consumption is partly from highway driving. If you drive in Kiev, the average speed would probably be around 20-30 km/h due to traffic jams. The gearbox is already different, an 8 HP, and the fuel consumption with similar engines is much lower. I noticed this compared to my own 6-cylinder, the 40D, and our regular client's vehicle. We featured it in one of our videos talking about the M550D engines. Perhaps we'll do another video on it in the future. The fuel consumption in the city, even with traffic, was around 10 liters for the 6-cylinder. I even pushed it a bit. With the 6-cylinder, it's difficult to get below 11 liters, even if there are minimal traffic jams and you drive calmly. On average, it's about 12 liters if you don't actively try to save fuel. As for the sport seats, surprisingly, the ones in the F-Series fit me better. It depends a lot on body type, but for me, the F-Series seats provide better lateral support. Perhaps they're narrower, which makes them more comfortable for me. Here, the side support feels less. Overall, the seats are comfortable, but I wish they would hug me a bit more, both at the bottom and top. I've gotten used to seats that wrap around more tightly. Even compared to my E92, the E-Series, the 335i, I would say those stock seats are almost perfect for me. The side support is great. As for the dynamics, the throttle pedal is certainly nice. A 3-liter diesel, no matter how you look at it, combines dynamics, fuel consumption, and the feeling of torque at low revs. But you understand that the price of a car with a 3-liter diesel is significantly higher than that of a 2-liter diesel or even a 2-liter gasoline engine. Although I think the dynamics of a 2-liter gasoline engine could compare. It's clear that it can't compare in fuel consumption. Yes, it can't, but in terms of dynamics, it could compare. However, the price will be quite different. Also, based on my experience with BMW, European cars drive much more interestingly with better soundproofing and higher interior quality compared to American cars. So I think this is a plus for this car because, as I said, it has great materials, good soundproofing, and I like how it drives. But we must not forget that the car was originally imported from Europe, so that should also be taken into account, which means you might end up getting it. Some kind of drum from America, rear-wheel drive. 2-liter gasoline engine, and it will be completely different, most likely with a high probability. It doesn't squeak, doesn't rattle. Everything is pleasant. Everything you touch, the way it looks. I like the dashboard. The modes change, how it all looks. Quite pleasant, cool. Is the multimedia also interesting? Well, in terms of functionality, it's clear that everything you need is there. 360-degree view, parking sensors, a good sound system is installed. Basically, everything needed for comfortable use is here. Let's sum up about this car. Yes, I liked it in general. Overall, it handles well, it looks cool, and the interior is definitely much more interesting and relevant in the current series, no matter how you look at it. The trim is great, the materials are fine, but still, I probably wouldn't choose the X3 for myself, just like with the F25, which I quickly sold. And in the case of the 01 series, this car is still a bit boring for me. Yes, for most people it will cover 90% of their needs, but for me it's still a little dull. As for the quality of materials and reliability, there are no issues with it. In this trim and configuration, it's quite interesting, handles well, and can even provide some emotions. It's dynamic with low fuel consumption, but honestly it doesn't really excite me. So stay with us and we'll get back to work.